G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Fon SuperCoach. Today we will be reviewing round 9 and discussing some trade targets, rookies to cull, all that sort of stuff. Another good week for me, a round score of 2,596 up to rank 522 overall, which is pretty cool. Cracked the triple figures. Hopefully I can make my way down to the double figures soon. So yeah, let's get into the team. So my trades for this week were Cherry in and who did I bring in? Fonty in. So obviously Cherry was a great success and then Fonty probably should have gone El Hawley, but it is what it is. And I traded out Matt Flynn and I don't know who. There is a way of finding it out, but I can't remember. So yeah, overall a successful week in trades, I think. Trading Cherry in for the 186 was really good. We'll discuss that more later. But yeah, let's get into it. So starting with Zorko, there was a few games where I was a big beneficiary of late game scaling and fourth quarter blitzes. So Zorko went berserk in the last quarter. I think he had about 61 points in the last quarter. Rankin had about 50 points in the last quarter. Cherry had, I think, 144 points in the second half, which is just absolute madness. I don't recall. Apparently, that's the equal highest this decade. I can't even fathom who would have got that 144. Marich had about 60 points in the fourth quarter. So yeah, heaps of guys that went off late in games, and Zorko was one of them. Used the ball really well and got a lot of the footy. Jared Berry went down and Fletcher got moved back to the wing. So that was why the scoring increased. Brisbane went for a taller defence than with Gardner coming in as a sub. I don't expect those spiked scores to persist every week, but it is good for me. Unfortunately, Jared Berry does have concussion as well, I believe, so he might miss again. I doubt that means Zorko will have the defence to himself again. I think Coleman is ready to go, but I say that I'm not convinced he'll play AFL in the next couple of weeks. It might mean that Duday gets a chance instead. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Maybe another big week of Zorko scoring against Melbourne for me. Dale 127. Yeah, he was fine. This was a good Dale game where he has like 32, 33 possessions, uses it pretty well. It's sort of unfortunate that uses the ball well at 33 possessions in a close game and he only goes 127, but it is what it is. Roberts 72 just absolutely torched the footy. Who's he got this week? I believe it's Carlton, so I will hold to that. Essendon were pretty good as well, to be fair, so it is what it is. LeBron James Sicily with a 120, so averaging 115 in my side now. Would have liked him to cash in on some bigger matchups, but on the bright side for Sicily is that Cal Shadir is back. I think if not this week, it will be next week. So there will be no more forward time for Sicily. I think if you are looking for a D6 type, Sicily is your guy. He could also he could push 110, 115. You know, we've seen it before. So big fan of Sicily, under 500k, should be considering in your targets this week. Zach Reed, 133. My goodness. How good is this bloke? Just intercepts everything, using the ball well. I half think he's borderline primo without Ridley out. Like, he has Ridley's role and he's playing it really well. So yeah, I don't know. It's awesome to see him get a good run in it and just thrive. So yeah, good for him. Shout out to Lewis Hayes, who did his ACL and was playing really well. So hopefully he has a good recovery and comes back stronger. Riley Bice, yeah, he was fine, 71. As I said, Sydney weren't that good. A lot of butchering. Essendon were pretty good, so it is what it is. Carroll was withdrawn from the VFL because Cowan got injured. I didn't even detect that Cowan had been selected over Carroll until about 7 o'clock on the Friday. So I was pretty shocked to see that because, I don't know, I'm of the opinion that Cowan hasn't shown much and has been given a lot of opportunity. Whereas Carroll has shown not a heap, but a little bit more with less opportunity. So it made more sense to give him a crack. And yeah, I don't know, had held out of the VFL game, so he might come back this week, which would be good. Fonty was pretty poor, had about 9 points to half time and then only the 20 in the second half. I think he'll hold, but the cash gen is so dead from him. So that is what it is. And then Brayshaw, Friday night, 154. Was was really good to see. Collingwood give up points to midfielders. Sorry to rub that in, Sarong owners. Pretty unlucky Caleb Sarong pickers this year. But yeah, Brayshaw played really well and locked in another 150 plus captain for me. Then Nick Dacos, he was tagged. For some reason, every time Nick Dacos is tagged, he is also simultaneously injured. Not sure what the go is with that. Hopefully he gets up this week. As you can see, my mid-bench is in trouble. So, fingers crossed he plays. Rankin, so the CBA's dropped off this week. So him and Dawson were very ineffective in the middle. I think Rankin just had a down game. I mean, Butters, Horn-Francis, like Drew, Wines, Bergman went in there and tagged Dawson, which we'll talk about in a sec. The Port midfield just smashed Adelaide, so I'm not sure what that means for Rankin. I think in matchups where the midfielders are less big, so like Drew, Horn-Francis, and Wines are all pretty big, I think that spells trouble for Rankin, who's a lighter frame and relies more on his speed and decision making. So that is what it is, but kicked 2 goals in the fourth quarter to get the Crows the win in the showdown. Why do they keep scheduling the showdowns with other games on? I don't understand. I want to watch the showdown and I want it to have my undivided attention. So yeah, I was pretty annoyed with that, but it is what it is. Rosie was excellent, showdown medalist in a losing team. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but don't really care. 134 SuperCoach points, take it to the bank. If you still don't have Rosie, I still think he's an excellent target. He's going to get DPP in the end of round 11. So, yeah, that's really good. I still think he's a top 4 defender. So, yeah, lock him in, I reckon. Then Dawson got tagged. To be honest, this could have been like a 90, but he had 2 horrendous clangers and a hat kick along the ground that went about 5 meters and got intercepted. So, 3 clangers that are really bad, if you like. That's 12 points. Realistically, would have been a 90 for him. That's all right. 90 in a tag is what it is. I was expecting him to get a little bit of attention, but I didn't think it would be Bergman just putting the absolute clamps on him. I thought it'd be a bit of stoppage attention from Drew, so pretty frustrated with that, but it is what it is. And then Cherag was swung into defence when I think it was McGovern that went down. So he lost his CBAs and didn't score too well. Hopefully he bounces back because his break-even is now pretty high and I have no way of dealing with him. Clay Hall was the loop. Hustwaite, subbed out, I think at half-time. Yeah, he was pretty slow. I think the unfortunate thing for Hustwaite was that Newcomb got tagged and Warple had good numbers, but he wasn't particularly damaging, particularly in the first half, I didn't think. So that meant that it was lights out for Hustwaite when the coach needed to pull some levers in the midfield. Pretty unfortunate. Think he'll get another crack this week. Hope he does because I'm going to need him. But yeah, it was okay. His cash gen is dead as well though, so there goes another one. And then Xavier Lindsay just pumps out 70s. Super good rookie. Very happy with him. Moraes came on for a quarter and went 24. So I don't know. That's a pretty decent result for a quarter. I'm kind of hoping he plays a full game soon. I don't think Port had any injuries out of that game. No, I can't think of any. So, that is what it is. Maybe he gets a full game. I'm not holding my hopes up for that. And then Tom Gross outscored Elijah Hewitt, playing 16% time on ground versus, I think, 80% or whatever Hewitt was. So that was pretty funny. So pretty unfortunate for Hewitt owners that his cash gen dies against Richmond. Probably a lot of people would have been fielding him for that matchup too. For someone who foolishly traded him out too early, it was a little bit of a relief for me. I thought he was going to put another 100k on my head as a non-owner. So it was good to see that fall short. But yeah, I don't know what Gross has to do to get a full game. Obviously, the heartbreak at the end of the game with the rundown tackle that he was the victim of, but I don't know, comes on 16% time on ground. I think that's like 10 minutes or something for 46. That's just absurd. Really strong contested game. I just don't, why do they persist with Tim Kelly, who doesn't care, when they've got Gross, who's tough, young, and has a crack? That's the 3 things that they need. So, I don't know, I just can't fathom that, but I would assume he gets a full game next week. So who knows? Maybe that would be good. I would probably field him if he did. So Although, last game, yeah, last game is pretty scary though. Yeah, I don't know. I'm in trouble if Husband gets dropped, I think. And then Max is Max. Yeah, just smashes out 130s for fun. The greatest ruckman of all time. Joy to watch him play. And then TDK was so-so. The question with TDK is, do you think the ninth midfielder or seventh defender is going to be better than Tom de Koning? I don't know. I think Marshall's not a bad matchup, so that's strange. I think there'll be a lot of de Koning traders over the next couple of weeks anyway. Has Grundy next week, and then Briggs is a good matchup though. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just yapping. I don't know. I'm assuming de Koning will be fine. Boyd didn't play. Petrarca was on like 80 at halftime and just had an absolute... he just went missing in the second half, so that was frustrating. Went home with the rest of the team at three-quarter time, is what it is. Sort of coming to expect that, but, it's whatever. Baz, 154. I don't know, everyone has Baz. Not much point in talking about him. He just gets it done every week. The Hornet went 118. Yeah, he was pretty good in the showdown. To be honest, it wasn't like a classic Horn-Francis domination, I didn't think. I was more interested in Rosie and Butters. So I think Butters actually had a quieter game. 117. Well, I mean, it's been quiet by standards so far. But yeah, they just brutalised the Crows mid, so yeah, they were really impressive. McRae, 79. I'm not sure. I can't detect a trend with McRae's scores. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that he would beat up Fremantle, but then not Carlton. I guess Carlton's mids are a bit bigger. Maybe it's the big midfields that are giving him trouble, like Kennedy. Their midfield's not that big, though. Their midfield's pretty small, but he got tagged. Yeah, I don't know. I can't work it out. He's going all right for now. No issues here. And then Marich, said before, just pigged it out in the last quarter. I think this guy is like F6 capable. He's definitely better than Daniel, who I'll speak about next. Yeah, I don't know, just kicks really well. I think he's a guy who could be, he could be brought up as that next sort of West Coast distributor off halfback. So I don't see why they would change that for now. He's going really well. So yeah, I'm just going to keep riding the wave. Don't even know if I'll cash him in the end, but we will see. And then Caleb Daniel. So he was on like 30 at quarter time. And just, I think he was on 30 at halftime and then 35 at three-quarter time when he got, I think in the third quarter he copped a hit to the nose or something and had a nosebleed, had to go off, all that sort of stuff. So, I don't know, it's probably unlucky for Daniel, but yeah, I am very keen to get rid of him. However, he has Richmond, Collingwood, West Coast, the next three. Collingwood have historically been good for halfbacks, but I'm not convinced that they are so much this year. Richmond and West Coast are obviously very favourable matchups. So, I don't know. I need to do some price projecting on this. Like, if he goes 190, 100, where's he at? That's probably the biggest question for me. And deciding whether or not I will get rid of him. I am planning to get rid of him for now. Pow Pepper, thank you for your services. You are gone this week. I'm not sure who to. That's another question, but it is what it is. I wasn't expecting much in the showdown, so yeah. And then Cleary, 35. Oh, this was only 35. Whoa. Gee, that's bad. Yeah, wow. Fortunately for Cleary, like Carlton, Melbourne, and Richmond should be pretty decent matchups. So maybe he can pump out like another 50k and then he can be flipped at his buy. I don't know. Carlton's been a good matchup for small forwards, so maybe he pumps out an 80 and resets his cash gen. It's probably wishful thinking, is what it is. And then the big fella, X in the ruck. I was watching this game, and at halftime he was on 47 or 45 or something, and I was looking at that and I was like, oh, I think we'll be okay. You never count the big fella out, and then, as I said, he had the highest scoring half in the last decade, so yeah, he was terrific. I did have the C on him, but you obviously take the 154. You'd be stupid not to, so yeah, that was really good. I think there's I don't think either Gorn or Cherry are a point of difference on their own, but having both of them is, I think. So I'm hoping that that can keep carrying me up the ranks. I think this year there's been a lot of massive captain scores so far, and to miss a lot of these captain scores has really hurt. I've been quite fortunate. I had a Brayshaw 155, then a Dacos 170, then a Gorn 170, a Gorn 200, and now Brayshaw 150. So that's the main difference in my rank. I don't think my team is that strong at the moment, but that's been the difference in my ranks. So yeah, getting on these big captains is so important at the moment. I think Brayshaw wasn't highly owned at the start of the season. Don't know what that's like now. No, Dacos' ownership is pretty good now, although you're going to get another opportunity to get him if you don't own him. So that is good. But yeah, getting these massive captain scores is so important at this stage in the year. And I've been fortunate enough to do that. So yeah, I have a good rank. So what to do this week? So the trades that I have fired up right now. So as you can see, there are three big sort of guys that are cashed up, you would say, and they're not going to make much more money in Bice, Pal Pepper, and Daniel. Excuse me. Now, I don't have a boost is the problem, so I can't cash in all three of them. So the decision for me is who is going to lose the least amount of cash and score the most points. So first off, that will not be Pal Pepper. He's a small forward. I've just got to get out of this now. He's almost 400k. Like, it's just absurd. So he's gone. Now, on the flip side of that, who the heck do I bring in? So Tunstall wouldn't expect to play. Johnson wouldn't expect to play. Not bringing in Disco Turner. I'm like half tempted by O'Halloran, but I don't know what the role is, and I don't really want to trade into 220k sitting on my bench. Not touching Fall. Erasmus, I don't know if he plays next week. Dudley's like the one that I'm most interested in, but I'm not really interested in him either. But that's kind of it. That is it. Like, Angove went 28. Like, that's nothing to write home about. The other option is a loop in Mentha, which is actually what I did have fired up. So we'll just confirm this. The next question is Caleb Daniel plays Richmond, then Collingwood, then West Coast. So if he goes 90s, he loses 5k. Well, that's 90, 95, 100. Which is probably about where I'd have him. The problem is, if he goes any less than that, I'm in trouble. Sheasel's getting a lot of the ball back there, and I think Hardiman is good enough to persist with and give him more responsibility. So I am concerned about Daniel, who is aging. He's not going to be involved in North's next premiership, you would think, and he can't defend. So Sheasel doesn't really defend either, but Daniel cannot defend. So how much more opportunity does he get? Does he get rested this week because he has had that hit to the nose? I don't know if it's broken or not. Who knows, but yeah, that's the conundrum for me. And then the other one is Bice, who has some pretty good matchups coming up in Melbourne, Adelaide, and Richmond, but I'm probably not going to hold him for... I mean, I could. The person I'd be going to is Whitfield for Bice, or a midfielder and swinging... No, it's probably a midfielder, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to hold... I think Bice is the one I'm going to hold, which sounds kind of silly, but I'm not convinced that he will get outscored by Daniel, even just this week. And if I'm flipping him next week anyway, then I might as well do that, because Daniel is going to probably lose more money than Bice. Also, I'm just going to debunk sort of a little bit of a rumour going around that Bice can't play at the SCG. So he was subbed on in the midway through the third quarter in this game. So we're going to eliminate that game. 79 against Port. Port has been a tough matchup for defenders the last few years, and that has persisted. GWS is the toughest matchup for defenders this year. So I'm not taking any stock out of these scores. I believe Carlton has been relatively good for defenders. Oh, 7. That's actually not great, but I don't know. I can see Bice having a good game, is what I'm saying. But yeah, I'll have a decision to make in the week over that. So for now, I'll do this other trade. So we're going to swing Rankin down. And we're going to go Jack Sinclair. Now, I'm not sold on Sinclair. As you can see, I can bring in anyone. My main targets right now are Tom Green, Sinclair, Whitfield, and then I've got my eyes on Bont and Butters when they drop. So Whitfield, unfortunately, has just gone 115 across his two worst matchups, you would think, which are the small grounds in the SCG and Goomba. So that's pretty frustrating. It's pretty frustrating. So I sort of assumed with Whitfield that he would have a knock at some point and I'd be able to get him in because last year I traded into Whitfield after around 5 or 6 and the next 2 games he had knocks and I paid 50k overs for him and I didn't get the good scores. But he hasn't had a single one of those Whitfield knocks this year except in this game at Monaco when it was pretty much at I think 3/4 time or half time. Now, I'm not wishing injury upon him, but I have owned Tom Stewart, who is prone to the knocks as well, and I owned him this year, and it has probably derailed my season. I am going well, I'm not trying to complain too much. But it probably derailed my season, the Tom Stewart pick, because of all the knocks and all that sort of stuff. Now, for Whitfield, who's also prone to the knocks, and being the one that I didn't go for, to just cruise through there, he's not getting anywhere near as much attention as he did get last year either. It's like, you can see why I'm frustrated. I don't know if he gets cheaper, but I feel like I kind of need him. On the bright side, this Fremantle matchup hasn't been good for him in the past, but Fremantle are one of the easiest teams to score against for defenders this year. And then there's like Richmond on the horizon, so gosh, I don't know. I can't get Whitfield this week anyway unless I trade Bice. Maybe that's the decision point for me. I'm not sure. But yeah, the other one's Tom Green, who goes on a really good run soon and had a big score on the weekend. So his break even is a little bit lower, 96. Last 2 games against the Dockers have been mega. So what's he projected to go up? 11k with a 122. So if he goes 150, he goes up 20k. It's not the end of the world. It's all right. I would lose the 150, but it is what it is. The other one I have my eyes on in the midfield is Noah Anderson, who I was watching this Dogs game this week and I was like, gee, he just makes sense as a premium midfielder. He has the outside game. His contested game is fine. The problem with Anderson is sometimes he doesn't travel well. Now, obviously this Sydney game he got tagged, but TIO 96, it's not great. There hasn't been many ceiling games for him, so maybe that's good. Hawthorn is a tough matchup this week, but as you can see, he went 155 on them last year. Then he goes Saints and Dockers. I'm very interested in Noah Anderson. Very interested. I'm wondering if he gets tagged against the Saints, so that's probably the watch for me. Butters and Bont will come down, but they're nowhere near yet. So for me this week, it's Sinclair, Tom Green, or Whitfield. I don't think Sinclair is going to be much cheaper, but the other question is Sinclair actually a premium? His last 5 games, he had a goal in the second half here, and I think did he kick 2 against GWS, and one of them was late? Obviously, Norwood's not a good game for defenders, but not a good ground for defenders, but the Dogs is a good matchup. Fremantle's been a good matchup, and Brisbane at Marvel should be okay for him. So yeah, that's kind of the question. Do I want Sinclair? On the plus side, he has 3 massive matchups in the next 3 weeks. Before going the next 5. Yeah, I think I'll just run this. The thing is that Nas has the same matchups as Sinclair because they play in the same team. The thing about Nas is Nas has games where he just clangs it. Like, that's the same guy, Messiah. He goes through periods of games where he just spits out clangers. Now, obviously his floor has been super low this year, which I do kind of like. But he has been prone to just spitting out clangers. His role also gets shifted. So, for example, I don't love him getting thrown into the midfield against Gold Coast or even Melbourne, to be honest, or the Dogs. So, Yeah, I don't know. Again, another decision point there. I'm going to stick with this for now. Hold bias. Yeah, that's just how I'm gonna roll for this week. I think until I get some more information. So trade targets for everyone else. I think all of Sicily. I think if you don't have Zorko, you probably don't go there anyway. Like nothing's changed for you. He's just had a spike game. So I mean, statistically speaking, the next spike game is less likely now. So probably let Zorko go. I do like Sicily. I would probably let Dale go as well. He's a roller coaster and just not. I'm not having fun with this Dale pick. I'll tell you that much. So Sicily, I like. Sinclair, I like. Nazire, I like. Whitfield, you could go there. Rosie, I like. Dawson, I like. Still think you could go Petrarca. They're the guys I would target. Now, if you didn't have Gorn or Cherry, this is too much. This is too much. This is why I went Cherry this week, because I thought that 630 would be the lowest I'd pay for him again this year. I appear to be correct. I don't think the Big O has been a good matchup this year, but warning, this is going to be disturbing viewing for non-Cherry owners. The run is Richmond, which is Mickey Mouse, Collingwood, which is a bit tougher, and then West Coast, which is Mickey Mouse. So, I mean, good luck to that. Also, he's got Shrek the week up, either an underdone Shrek or Jackson. So, another good matchup. TDK's been a good matchup. Meek's been a good matchup. English is a good matchup. He beasted on Gorn last game, but we'll give him an excuse. I think he towed up. Oh no, Grundy, that was an injury game. So, like, the next time you're looking at Cherry being affordable, it's like round 18, round 19. I don't know. These like monster scorers like Gorn, Cherry, Brayshaw, Dacos, and then Butters and Bont are just so polarizing this year because they are going massive so often. But no one has Butters and Bont at least. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be advising going Cherry or Gorn at this price. And then like downgrade options, I see Boxall is popular. I think he's subbed this week with Filippo getting some more midfield minutes. I wouldn't go early on Filippo either, by the way, because you just don't know how that role is going to look. There is El Hawley. I would love to go El Hawley, but I don't know. I don't see it being good. And then like Buse, there's Stewart and Henry out. Wouldn't touch Buse, especially not this week. Archie Wicks just doesn't have the scoring power. And then Cooper Simpson is interesting. But I think Cooper Simpson, I think what happens this week is Erasmus plays full game. Wait, Erasmus plays full game. Could I go him? But he's just not good at football. 150k, break even -9. Giants matchup, can't imagine that's good. No, it's not good. Okay. Simpson was fine. I just think that Wagner gets shifted back now that he's not tagging this week. So, yeah, I don't know. There's lots to ponder this week. Lots to ponder. I would ideally not. You don't really want to be trading loops in before the bye rounds, but if you got to, you got to. Anyway, that's it for me this week. Let me know how... I should do captains. So, as I said, Cherry against Richmond, lock and load. The other one I like is Nick Dacos against the Crom. Now, if he's struggling during the week, he's apparently got a little bit of an injury. I would just flip that to Dawson, who has gone bang, bang, bang on the Crows the last 3 times. Sorry, on the Pies the last 3 times. Sorry. There's a 107 here, but then a 150 and a 150. So, yeah, and I probably would take a 150 this week, although I think X is going to go 150 plus. So, yeah, other options you could do. I don't mind Whitfield against Freo or Tom Green if you have him. Probably wouldn't go Brayshaw this week. You could go Zorko or Dunkley against Melbourne. I do think Neil will get tagged this week by Viney. So, by the way, you're so unlucky if you have Neil this week. So unlucky. Just a close game where he sort of got going towards the end, but just had zero interest at the start of the game. Don't know what happened. So my condolences to you. That is unfortunate. And I thought Neil was probably a decent option last week. It would have been a painful watch. But yeah, that's all for me this week. Let me know how you went in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking of doing with your trades. And I will see you next week. Bye, guys.